الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So as we continue discussing the book Bulugh al-Maram by Hafiz Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah, and we'll be continuing discussing the hadith that refers to as the Bab Qada al-Haja, so matter that relates to toilet manners, and as some of the heading of the hadith, the heading of this title of this chapter, that is referred to as Adab Qada al-Haja. So those mannerisms, those etiquettes that one should be mindful of and also to fulfill in carrying out the act of nature, or fulfilling the act of nature. So today, inshallah ta'ala, we'll read another of those hadith that relates to this particular topic and discuss as to what have been said by the ulama regarding the benefit and the ahkam that can be taken from it. Naam, tafaddal.
Alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah. Hadith 80, narrated Mughira bin Shu'ba radiallahu anhu. Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam told me, take the leather hide water container. He then went forward till he disappeared from me, and then he relieved himself. Agreed upon.
So this is the next hadith that is mentioned regarding the chapter of Qada al-Haja, where the author rahimahullah Ibn Hajar rahimahullah ta'ala, that he stated the hadith, and Mughira ibn Shu'ba, and Mughira ibn Shu'ba ta'ala anhu قال لي Nabi alayhi salam, alayhi salam, with the Prophet alayhi salam, they have mentioned to me, khudi idawa, where he mentioned that to take of this leather item, فانطلق حتى توارى أني فقضى حاجته. So he disappeared, walked away until he was out of sight from me. Then he mentioned فقضى حاجته, and he fulfilled the call of nature. Then he mentioned متفق عليه, by way of the source of this hadith, متفق عليه, with the hadith in the Bukhari and Muslim. So as for this hadith that have been mentioned here, then we'll mention start with the takhrij of the hadith. So as for this hadith in brief regarding takhrij, the author rahimahullah Ibn Hajar, he mentioned muttafaqun alayh. So muttafaqun alayh, as he have mentioned, it means the hadith in the Bukhari and Muslim, but also the hadith, as some who have made takhrij of the hadith of this book, that they have mentioned the hadith also in the hadith is with Bukhari and also Muslim. Also the hadith can be found in Ahmed in his Musnad, also in Sunan Abu Dawud, Sunan Ibn Majah, and Nasa'i, Bayhaqi, and others. So this hadith is found in those different sources as mentioned by, in this check-in by Sheikh Fahl. Then also just a comparison regarding concerning what is mentioned also regarding this particular hadith from other sources that I mentioned hadith, or the check-in of this book, where in Sheikh Hallaq rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned in his check-in, he mentioned that he titled this particular chapter, he mentioned Yustahab al-Istitar inda qada al-Haja, that it is encouraged al-Istitar, that one can somewhat try to conceal himself in fulfilling the call of nature. Then he mentioned hadith of Al-Mughira ibn Shu'ba ta'ala anhu, where then and the hadith is mentioned that as for his takhrij, as he mentioned, as for his reference of the hadith, he mentioned akhrajahu Bukhari, that he mentioned hadith akhrajahu Bukhari wa Muslim, Nasa'i, Abu Awana, Ahmed. Then so these are the sources that he mentioned. So he mentioned that is as compared to the other takhrij of the hadith, the other reference of the hadith mentioned Bukhari and Muslim, also over they mentioned also Nasa'i, Ahmed in his Musnad, Abu Awana, also the other one that they mentioned Abu Dawud. He doesn't per se mention Abu Dawud in his in this check-in. Then he mentioned that concerning Tawara anni istatar anni wastakhfa. So that's concerning what is mentioned regarding concerning this matter. Then also he mentioned regarding al-hajatuhu, that what is meant by this. So that's what have been mentioned. So we see a slight difference in the takhrij. So Sheikh Mahir al-Fah in his takhrij mentioned hadith that have been mentioned in Ahmed, Abu Da, Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawud, Ibn Majah, Nasa'i, Bayhaqi, and the likes. So those are the sources of the hadith. So this hadith, as So that's concerning the source of this hadith. Also, another matter to mention regarding concerning that in this hadith he mentioned qada faqada hajatuhu, that the Prophet ﷺ, that he went and performed fulfilled the call of nature. Sheikh or Al-Alama As-San'ani, Allama Muhammad ibn Ismail Al-Amir As-San'ani rahimahullah ta'ala, in his explanation, his famous checking of this book, or his famous explanation of this book, it is called Subul Salam. So in his famous checking or explanation, Subul Salam, that is the explanation of Bulugh al-Maram, that when he mentioned this particular chapter heading, that he mentioned regarding concerning al-Haja, regarding the adab that one should fulfill, or the mannerism in fulfilling the call of nature, he mentioned al-Haja, when he mentioned Haja, kinayatun an khuruj al-bawl wal-gha'ith. So they mentioned Haja, that is an indirect way of saying the person wishing to relieve themselves, either to urinate or to defecate. Then he mentioned that, and these words are used by way of the ulama, that when they title this particular discussion regarding this matter, they mention adab qada al-haja, and they mention that of the ulama, and they use concerning this word al-haja, that has been mentioned in some hadith, so they use this word in line with the hadith. Also others of the, and that's concerning the fuqaha, also of the ulama, we saw of the fuqaha, so of the ulama, we have to use the heading of this concerning bab al-istitaba, bab al-istitaba, which is the bab of istitaba, and this is taken also from hadith. Yastatib biyamini, the Prophet Islam, la yastatib biyamini, that the Prophet Islam, that he would not per se clean himself with his right hand. So I mentioned the word al-istitaba that relates to this particular discussion. Some of the ulama that also they'll use the heading regarding this particular chapter, bab at-takhalli, regarding concerning of things of the person that being by himself, of relieving of himself in privacy. So the person, so they mention also takhalli, the person relieving of himself by seeking of privacy and to separate himself from others. Then also they mention, the Prophet mentioned إِذَا دَخْلَ أَحَدُكُمْ الْخَلَى, where the Prophet mentioned al-khala, from khala, where the person is a form of relieving of oneself, or going to that place that is designated for relieving of oneself. And other ways that they describe this. So as for the ahkam that can be taken from this particular matter, that they mention regarding concerning that, as mentioned by Sheikh Bassam, when he mentioned this particular hadith, that he mentioned tawari anni, that the Prophet Islam, that he went and somewhat separate himself, or that the Prophet Islam, that went in privacy or seek privacy, or from those who were present, or disappeared from those who were present. So I mentioned istatar, where the person that seeking some form of privacy in fulfilling this or carrying out this act. That also they mention hajatuhu, that what is meant by this concern of Prophet Islam, that wishing to relieve of oneself. So they may, as we stated before, as mentioned by Amir As-San'ani, that it is khiyana and tabawul and tagawuth, that is a form of view that is used, indirect way of saying regarding the person wishing to relieve themselves by way of to urinate or by way of defecating. So as for the masail that can be taken, or the benefits that can be taken from this, then of those things that I mentioned, that from the hadith, istibab al-bod wa tawara inda an-nas, that inda arada man arada qada al-haja. So what the ulama mentioned regarding from this hadith, it shows concerning ibtiad an-nas, that a person that is trying to distance himself from the people and seek privacy in the qada al-haja, in fulfilling the call of nature. So regarding concerning this discussion regarding the hadith, it shows that the person that disappearing and seeking privacy in fulfilling the call of nature. On this matter that they have mentioned regarding the ulama state regarding concerning of seeking of privacy and removing oneself from others, or distancing oneself from others, or to separate oneself from others in fulfilling the call of nature, they mention يستحب لمن ذهب إلى قضاء حاجته أن يبتعد عن أعين الناس, that for the person who is seeking, or the person who wish to fulfill the call of nature, then it is mustahab, it is something which is highly recommended for a person that he distance himself away from the people, from people seeing him directly. So they mentioned that that's of the thing which is mustahab. And you find many hadith of this nature. So you find many other hadith also that reinforce this, or reinforce that the person in fulfilling their call of nature, that they try to remove themselves or to distance themselves away from others. Then also that they mentioned regarding concerning what's the hukum regarding this. So they said it is mustahab regarding this matter, where they mentioned that concern, as they mentioned, that this adab of distancing oneself, separating oneself from others, that is something which is istihbab. And I mentioned min adab muttafaqun alayh, that is something which is agreed upon, as mentioned by An-Nawawi in his book Sharh al-Mu'adhib. So this act they consider to be, it is mustahab, and that is something which is agreed upon between the ulama. Then also they mentioned with this also they take into consideration, and I've clarified that regarding concern that in matters relating to bowl, to urinate, then the affairs regarding that is more is of a less degree that a person need to distance himself. So it's of less of a degree for a person to distance himself. That it is mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ, as mentioned in Sahih in Bukhari and Muslim, Nabi عليه السلام bala qa'im, the Prophet ﷺ that he urinated qa'im, wal Hudayfa qa'im inda aqibi, that Hudayfa ibn Yaman, that he was close to him. So the Prophet ﷺ urinating, but still someone was close to him. So they mentioned regarding concerning that the matter is more severe regarding defecating, and to a lesser degree it's a lesser degree for a person who's passing urine. So also as-San'ani mentioned regarding concerning this discussion, we mentioned regarding the hadith of Shar al-Arabi, where he mentioned that a person who urinate in a masjid, then he mentioned minha, of what of the fawaid of this hadith, minha and ibad and qada al-haja, that a person should try to distance himself, to remove himself away from the people in fulfilling the call of nature. They mention huwa liman yurid al-gha'ith, but this is in relation to the person who wish to pass stool. For the person who wish to pass stool, for a person then for him to remove himself from the people. But as for the mention wala bawl, and not per se for that of urinating. And I mentioned the reason for this regarding concerning that with to passing of stool, that also it comes at times with sound, also it comes with a smell, and with some people also they'll make certain sounds. So regarding concerning of stool, there comes with more of things that can be, it comes with more things as attached to it regarding a smell that comes with it, also a noise that may come from it. So these are the things that comes with stool. So the person distance themselves more so, and also more exposure of oneself in passing of stool and defecating. So that's concerning the ulama. They mentioned regarding concerning that and they mentioned that so this is something with the Sharia also, that so something that was a practice of Jahiliyyah, and still consider the Sharia also allow the people that for defecating, passing of stool, for them to more seek privacy and remove themselves from the people. And as for urine, it is less of a burden, so less for the person to the person can do so, but it is somewhat still allowed. For if the person was to be close by, then this is something which is still acceptable. So that's concerning of the ahkam that can be taken from this particular hadith regarding concerning that particular matter. So we said that the hikmah, or the wisdom, that perceive wisdom as to why the difference between urinating and defecating, that would defecate a person should distance himself. And in today's time, that when done outdoors, then in a person as in an indoor, then as the person at the indoor, then a person that's closed, may ensure a door is closed behind them. So indoors, that a person ensure a door is closed behind him. As we know sometimes that in the toilets, public toilets, you might find several cubicles. There might be several cubicles. So the smell is there, the noise sometimes is there. So the person tries to just be mindful of those things. But the person, if he's able, then he should distance himself from others. And if the person is unable, then that's the person ensure that he's not being seen, but he's concealed from the people. Also, they mentioned regarding concerning from the hadith, it shows regarding concerning as to be discussed, and as-sitra al-awra and in-nas. Fawajib, that the person also in fulfilling the call of nature, that also that they try to conceal himself from the people. So not to expose of oneself in front of others while fulfilling the call of nature. So the Prophet ﷺ, that he would distance himself away from the people. So it shows regarding that in fulfilling this act of the call of nature, of the mannerism that a person should be mindful of, that he does not expose himself in front of others. Not to expose himself in front of others in doing of this act. So the Prophet ﷺ, then he would take what is needed, as in the hadith, khud idawa, that to carry this vessel, this container of water, and the Prophet ﷺ then will fulfill the call of nature. Also, so it shows regarding that not exposing of oneself when fulfilling this act of nature, and this is something which is wajib. So this is wajib for a person to ensure that he does not expose himself. So of the person, kashf al-awrah, that is something which is the person to be very mindful of this, and for the person to display certain things in front of others, of his private parts, except for his wife, then this is something not to be done. This is something which is haram. So for a husband and wife, that's an exception for them. Also from the hadith that Shaykh Bassam, rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned istihbab, i'dad, idawata, tahara al-insan. That also regarding concern that the person also taking something that the person in need of water to help to wash themselves, and the person also that to take this with them. So part of the preparation for the person to take with them the water that is needed for them to clean themselves. And also in this case, the Prophet ﷺ, that he had someone to assist him, in this. So it showed that the permissibility that a person preparing of himself and fulfill the call of nature and take what he needs to fulfill this task. So whether the person needs water or a person needs paper or whatever else that is needed, then the person should prepare these things and take them along with him. Also it shows regarding that having someone to take this with them and give it to the person, then this is something which is allowed. So the person that the Prophet would give it to the person, and then they would clean of themselves. And also it showed the nobility of the Prophet ﷺ, that not having someone to clean him. This is haram, to expose himself in front of others. Sometimes some people, they want others to clean them, and this is something which is haram for others to clean people who are not of not of spouses. Also they showed jawaz iktisar al-istinja. So also in this case, the Prophet ﷺ, that more likely that he only restrict himself to istinja, which is the use of water. So it shows regarding that istinja, there's the use of water without other things attached with it in clean of oneself. So it shows that this act, that he just restrict himself to use of water. So they mentioned the fact that the Prophet ﷺ kind of somewhat disappeared from the people, or from with Mughira, Al-Mughira being with him. Then it showed that maybe that he was doing an act of a call of nature, and also, but he only use use of water, without per se adding hijara, stones or other things along with this. Also, as we mentioned, that the Shaykh mentioned jawaz al-isti'ana bighayri, that also it shows that the permissibility of seeking others to assist you regarding ihdar, adawat, tahara, that getting someone to bring things regarding things that are needed for the person to purify or to clean himself after the call of nature. So having someone to assist you in this, then there's no harm in this. This shows the permissibility of this. And a person also sometimes could maybe waiting close by, depending on which act the person is carrying out. So also it shows in general regarding ittikhad al-khadim. So for the person of someone to act as like an assistant, as I want someone to aid him, so as to have an helper. So they show the permissibility of having an helper to help the person even in these matters. Even a person who's said to be a free person. So a free person doing this task, this is something which is allowed. And also it shows regarding kamal hayat, Nabi al-Islam concern, the Prophet al-Islam concern, haya is kind of shyness and humility with the Prophet al-Islam, that and also show of his grand conduct and mannerism, that the Prophet al-Islam regarding concerning his act of nature, that he would make himself, that he would distance himself from the person, either person who assist him, so he would take the water from the person, and then he will continue and find somewhere that is private for him to do of this act, where the person who is with him cannot see. So it shows regarding the Prophet ﷺ regarding that, showing a good example and mannerism and conduct regarding these things, that one should seek privacy. That one should seek privacy in carrying out these acts. So this also becomes an example for the Muslim. So it becomes like an example for the Muslim that in doing these acts, not to do it in the presence of others, but rather the person should seek a place that is a private area to do so, a private area to do so. So with this, inshallah ta'ala, with this, it shows regarding concerning that from the adab and from the fawaid that can be taken from this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ regarding, as mentioned, the hadith of Al-Mughira ibn Shu'ba, that the Prophet ﷺ called khudi idawa. Then he mentioned فانطلق حتى توارى عني فقضى حاجته. And also he showed the Prophet ﷺ that is humanity regarding concerning the Prophet being a person who is a human being, that also fulfill also the acts of normal human beings. So the act of nature. So it's not considered to be an angel, but also the Prophet ﷺ was a person like ourselves that have human characteristics, and of those fulfillment of the call of nature. Fulfillment of the call of nature. So that shows regarding concerning that what can be taken from this hadith regarding these fawahid, regarding that the person in fulfilling the call of nature, especially outdoors, that a person trying to distance themselves from others and not to expose themselves in front of others. Also for the person to ensure that from their part that they try to seek privacy in doing of this and not to expose themselves in front of others. Also for the person also to take what he may need to fulfill or to cleanse of themselves, to remove whatever they have passed, the waste that they have passed. So having that which is needed to wash off oneself, and also seeking assistance of others in aiding in these type of act by carrying off things for the person. Those things are allowed. So that inshallah ta'ala, and also the person mindful regarding the smell and the sound that sometimes attached to fulfilling the call of nature. So with this, inshallah ta'ala, will end of this. And also of those things that we may add regarding concerning this, that sometimes the people are not mindful of, that and to bring it to our attention, that in our day, in today's world and context that we have, that and also our situations, that those who have toilets that are inside our homes or in public lavatory, that the person, when they use the call of nature, that a person will ensure that whatever has been left as waste, then those things are flushed away, are removed and not left behind for someone else to see this, whether by way of urine to be flushed away, or second by way of stool to be flushed away, and also the person, when they finish, to ensure that these things are completely removed. So if anything that maybe remain, that a person also try to ensure that that there's nothing that remain in the toilet regarding their own waste. So the person that try to make sure that everything is removed and cleaned away, and that nothing remains, that a person coming behind will see this. Then that is not proper, and not the conduct of the Muslim. So these are the things that at times we find that some may be a little bit negligent on these matters, that whenever they use of the toilet, especially in public area or in our own homes, that we kind of somewhat have the system in place regarding of the adab, that we ensure that whatever waste we have passed out, then those things are flushed away and removed, and not left for someone else to see it. So that's of those things to be mindful of. So this inshallah ta'ala will end. وبالله تعالى توفيق وهذه السبيل والآخر دعوانا الحمد لله آمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Okay, still